but let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last.
Oh, my body! Wait for it. Oh! Yes!
Play it first!
Go.
You happy now? So, after years and years of clamoring from fans, Square Enix is finally giving us the remake of my third favorite Final Fantasy game, 9 and 6. Now, despite the title of this video, I am legitimately excited for this game, and I hope it's good. But, I also revel in destroying fanboys' irrational hype and expectations. Because I'm a jerk like that. Some of you may be thinking, well, you can't really make a preemptive judgment over just a 100-second pre-rendered teaser trailer. You'd be right in context, but this really stems from observation of Square Enix's decisions from current and past Final Fantasy games, along with some of the people who are on board already with their decisions and their experience. So, with that being said,
Number 1! Gameplay and combat! Final Fantasy VII was a pretty big game for its time, but the engine it ran on had to make for some corner cutting in the graphics department. We're all familiar with the PS1 RPG template. Pre-rendered backgrounds with blocky polygonal characters transitioning to a full 3D combat scenario, usually with an ominous noise and dissolve accompanying it. That was a main trope for RPGs back in the day, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. GG, let's call it a day. Fast forward to the present and you'll notice that RPGs today don't fit in the same peg as it did back in the late 90s and early 2000s. You couldn't blame them either. When you're presented with an opportunity to make a new game on a system with almost 4,000 times the memory capability as its ancestor, you'd want to stretch your legs and see what's at your disposal. Here I am babbling, but what I'm trying to get at is that Final Fantasy VII is going to get a major visual overhaul, which is not only going to affect how the game looks, but how the game plays. Cities and landscapes will be scaled up to realistically match its proportions of how they should actually look like and comparatively scaling it along with the characters. The trademark transition from dungeon to battle could cease to be and simply become a slight HUD change, and battles will take place right then and there. But most importantly, and this is what may sell or dissuade most of you, is that it's been confirmed that the battle system is no longer the tried and true method of having characters on one side of the field and the enemy on the other using the active time turn-based battle system, and is instead real-time where you control just one character and the rest are guided by shitty AI, following the lead of Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts. Hey, Square Enix, remember how in Bravely Default where you made the combat a callback to the old school RPGs back in the day and everyone praised the shit out of it? Myself included? That's reason enough for you to take the hint that this kind of combat is what your demographic wants. The combat was good the way it was, and doesn't need to abide by its contemporaries. The active time battle system was a solid way of keeping players on their toes by making it kind of real-time, but also turn-based at the same time. Being in control of all the characters also lets us connect with them on a more personal level, which is exactly the fucking thing you want in a genre that is driven by story and characters. Final Fantasy VII does not need to be Final Fantasy 15 or fuck forbid Final Fantasy 13. Which really says something considering the combat in 13 was probably the only good part of those games. But if it must be in the style of 15, at least it looks like it's going to give us the option to change characters. That could give players an opportunity to adopt diverse gameplay styles that suit people's desires. Cloud and Tifa, hack and slash melee. Barrett and Vincent, third-person shooter. Yuffie and Kate Sith? I don't fucking know, you figure it out. You would pretty much have to use this method, especially if you're considering bringing limit breaks back. Number 2, it will subvert gamers' imaginations. Part of what made Final Fantasy VII so memorable and adored within gamers' hearts is that while it had a solid presentation for its time, it still left a lot to the imagination. You can't possibly tell me that during your time playing you never inserted voices for the characters to give more oomph to the cutscenes? Giving them more versatile emotions than just them miming to what they're talking about? Come on, this was like playing with action figures, but they were on your TV and they could shoot meteors from their swords. It enhanced our imaginations, gave our creativity a spark to modify existing material. It let us experience Final Fantasy VII rather than just play it. Now, that imaginative feeling we grew up with will be undermined with the remake, because better technology will allow Squeenix to tell the story they wanted to tell, which admittedly isn't a bad thing on the part of the artist, and again, you can't really fault them for jumping at the opportunity to make something bigger, better, and more realized. This will inevitably include professional voice actors, fully rendered and detailed 3D character models, and more cinematic cutscenes. By now you're telling me, but Phil, all of that happened way before the remake was announced with the movie and the spin-off games. You're right, and that is exactly the problem. These advents weren't implemented in the way that we wanted. Well, for me at least. Voice acting turned Cloud into a brooding, soft-spoken candy ass and destroyed our vision of the stoic, sarcastic character we grew up with. I would say that this problem can easily be fixed with the ingenuity of an effective localization team hiring more competent voice actors to fill the roles. But I would be wrong because they would have to deal with the massive hurdle that is number 3, Tetsuya Nomura's ham-fisted direction. Nomura did have a major role in the original game where he designed the characters, but he's in the director's chair this time around, and that makes me cautious due to his previous outing as director, Kingdom Hearts.
First things first. Flame Shield up! Kingdom Hearts is an overrated series.
Now let me stress, the games are decent. The concept of Disney and Final Fantasy characters crossing over works better than I would have hoped. The graphics and animations are fucking beautiful, and the cinematic gameplay is the saving grace and makes them worth playing. But the story is a needlessly complex and convoluted clusterfuck. Considering that purists would have to invest possibly $500 in games and hardware to experience the full saga, it seems that Nomura's staff of writers saw Lost and figured to themselves, hey, let's make something like that, but for kids. Going to sleep to regain memories, hearts being a life source of power, but some people being able to look like normal people without them, people having at least 3 different incarnations of themselves.
We're not talking about this or this, we're talking about this!
And all that just boils down to the tried and overused theme of friendship conquers all. And it's addressed this way through the not-so-subtle direction of Mr. Nomura. The fucking demographic these games were built for have since grown up. So, maybe for Kingdom Hearts 3, you can convey themes that extend to an audience of a wider age group similar to what Pixar does? Oh, super moves in the form of theme park rides? Never mind. Never fucking mind! Another example is the Final Fantasy VII movie, Advent Children. Once you take away all the high-flying action, kick-ass score, and pretty CG graphics, what do you have? A forgettable story with stupid-ass dialogue and sappy voice work.
In retrospect, Advent Children kinda sucked. This could be remedied by the exemplary efforts of a great localization team again, but what has me even more worried is the very possibility of...
Number 4, dumbing down the themes. I really appreciate the deep and surprisingly effective themes that Final Fantasy VII conveyed. The concept of the Lifestream and it being the embodiment of energy, coalescing into physical living beings in life, and deconstructing back into said energy upon death. Shinra being a cautionary tale of corporations owning everything including the skin on your ass cheeks. Environmentalism that, while not exactly subtle, certainly presents a compelling reason to care about saving the world than, say, Captain Planet. Identity crises and becoming the very person who cast the shadow you were walking in, and most importantly, the theme of loss and coming to terms with it. Spawned from the passing of Hironobu Sakaguchi's mother and him coping with that, those understandable emotions resonate throughout the entire game. Forget Eris, every single character goes or went through a tragic event and loses a loved one. They're hurt, distraught, figuratively and sometimes literally broken, but they learn, they develop as people, they heal, and as a result, they take the pain of loss and turn it into strength in an effort to prevent future tragedies, like the ultimate tragedy. This isn't even taking into account some of the more adult themes like cross-dressing, prostitution, threats of castration, Barrett and Sid's constant swearing, and the possibility of Cloud being gangbanged by a bunch of dudes in a bathhouse. I'm just saying. I don't think I'm making a bold or exaggerated statement in saying that when Sakaguchi left Square, he took what made Final Fantasy with him. Exhibit A, the criminally underrated Lost Odyssey, and with Mr. Stay Where You Belong in my memories at the helm, the possibility of him fucking up these established themes is frighteningly apparent. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the final battle of the remake going a little like this. The Lifestream. It's friendship. It'll give us the power to defeat Sephiroth and stop Meteor. Not if I can help it. Monotone Nova. Ow. But I don't think these points will ultimately matter, because when all is said and done, number 5, nostalgia will ultimately hinder us in our ability to judge the remake on its own merits. So to state the obvious here, a lot of people have played this game. I'm talking green label reprint levels of popular. Gamers have fond memories of Final Fantasy VII, and the ones who didn't like it, well, I can only assume they played through the entire game to form a solid opinion, so less than stellar memories are probably there too. That's worth bringing up because these moments, whether we enjoyed them or not, have become ingrained in our subconscious, and a remake would only cause those memories to re-emerge and force us to make comparisons with the original, which I think will make people assess the game unfairly. Some of you watching are probably itching to throw up the Resident Evil remake as a counter-argument if you haven't done so already. That being said, I just have to say, why did you comment on this video before you haven't even finished watching the fucking thing? But also to say that I've thought about that already. Resident Evil for the GameCube is a fantastic game and is a prime example on how to do a remake right. But there are a couple factors to consider. The span between the PS1 and the GameCube games was only one console generation, or 6 years. The span between Final Fantasy VII is 3 console generations and possibly 20 years, giving a lot more room for standards of gamers and the developers to change. Resident Evil kept the core gameplay mechanic intact and refined everything else. Better graphics, better sound, better atmosphere, better voice acting, and sprinkled in a few new extras to satiate the appetite of the hardcore fans. And if Final Fantasy VII adheres to this formula, then we'll have nothing to worry about, and this video will be pretty much moot, and I will have wasted days of my life writing, recording, and editing this butt-fucking video. But that's just the thing. In the time it took for me to actually get off my ass and make this fucking video, gameplay footage has been shown, and it looks like it's going to follow the same formula as Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15, and news that the game will be released episodically already has gamers on edge.
Coming full circle, it bears repeating that this is merely speculation, and I sincerely hope the game is good. And who knows, if they make these changes, they'll do so with care and in a way that will actually complement the experience. Final Fantasy VII is one of the most revered games of all time. How could they possibly— this is how. I'm PMRants, and despite everything I just said, holy fuck am I excited to play as Cloud in Smash Brothers.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you're craving some more, feel free to check out the ones listed here. First up is a parody of Ancient Aliens on our film channel, Catharsis Pictures, and all the broad, unsubstantiated claims it all contains. Or, if you like sick-ass hip-hop involving Pokemon, which who doesn't really, my buddy R-Wing Aaron64 made an original song and video about it, and I helped. I was a good boy. Or, if you like funny movie reviews, then my buddy Mo Chocolate made a review on Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, which R-Wing Aaron64 and I made a cameo in, which also include Boogie2988, Pro Jared, and even the Nostalgia Critic. So, if any of those pique your interest, the links will be in the description. Thank you.